Voluntary manslaughter will be dropped. Foltz died back in March after an alcohol hazing event at a Pi Kappa Alpha off-campus party. The other 6 men charged have all pleaded not guilty. I'm Brittany Bailey.
And I'm Dave James on the Ohio News Network.
Live and local conversation for the Ohio Valley continues shortly, here on the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe.
Oh, there's something so real about living local, and I know without a doubt I'm not alone. And I'm loving living local. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. Said I'm loving living local. WTRF is working for me. The Ohio Valley is where I love to be.
A serious injury from an accident can be just the start of your worries. What if you cannot return to work? How do you take care of your family if you're disabled? At Gelner Law Offices, we represent seriously injured people and understand their problem. We know how to get you fair compensation. We will work hard to make sure you get the money you deserve for your losses. Don't go it alone. If you're hurt in an accident, call us at 304-242-2900 or visit us at gelnerlaw.com.
We'd like to help.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the Watchdog trusts.
I'm Andrew Saul, Commissioner of Social Security. Beware of telephone scammers pretending to be government employees. Real Social Security employees will never threaten you. Callers threatening you with arrest or other legal action and demanding money are not from us. If you receive a call like this, hang up, do not provide them with any form of payment or information. Report the call at oig.ssa.gov.
Update your tool cabinet with 11% off everything at Menards. Masterforce has a large selection of power tool accessories with over 500 accessories in stock. From drill bits and hole saws to blades and sandpaper. Get the job done with 11% off all Masterforce power tool accessories. Get 11% off everything now at Menards. Good through September 18th. Savings or mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Toyotas are known for reliability, value, and our large selection of all-wheel drive vehicles for those unexpected weather conditions. Like a gas model RAV4, right now with 500 cash back, or a 22 Corolla with 500 cash back, or go with a stylish Camry with up to $1,250 total cash allowance. Visit buyatoyota.com and find a dealer near you. You can take cash back or apply toward down payment. Offers may vary for hybrid models. See your dealer for details. Offers end October 4th. Toyota. Let's go places.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm the Storm Tracker, Darnell Foster, with a look at your local weather forecast for your Friday. Clouds and sunshine mixing with a daytime high near 83, overnight low of 66 degrees under partly cloudy skies. Clouds and sunshine mixing for your Saturday with temperatures in the upper 70s. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
On air, online, on demand, and on video. This is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe.
66 degrees, clear skies at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. 63 degrees, and the sun is coming up. A bit of fog floating around outside my home studios here in the Elm Grove section of Wheeling. 62 degrees at the Robinson Auto Group Studios, downtown Wheeling, in the heart of the Ohio Valley. Going to be more sun than clouds today, kind of a lot like yesterday. See some clouds, see some sun, but more sun than clouds. Daytime high today up to around 82 degrees. Vivi, I did a segment on the statewide show yesterday with Hoppy Kercheval, and I got a note from Hoppy this morning. He says, Howard, my wife was listening, and she complimented us. She said that she learned something and that we sounded very professional. I think we fooled her. I think we fooled Mrs. Kercheval. She said, we sounded very professional. Wow, I think Hoppy and I both fooled her. All right, that's. I feel good about being able to trick Mrs. Kirchwell, I guess. Coming up today, where have we been? Where are we going? The story I talked with Hoppy about on Statewide Talk Line yesterday has to do with Governor Justice wanting to coach football. Oh, God help us. And filing a grievance on that. The Greenbrier County School Board meets today to discuss the governor's grievance over not being hired to be the boys' football coach. He's filed a grievance. They're going to talk about it today. Meanwhile, former delegate Isaac Spinagle is still planning another lawsuit over Governor Justice's residency. He's not living in Charleston, Spinagle says, and has said before. Previous lawsuit was settled. The governor said, all right, I'll live here. But he's not, according to records. So Spinagle is filing that again. Next hour, McCabe and I, the newspaper editor, John McCabe and I, will have our Friday roundtable. We'll talk about the local news of the week, including that dust-up at the Bel Air Central game, downtown parking garages in Wheeling, Ohio County Schools mask mandate. We'll do the Friday Funnies coming up in the next half hour of the show. We'll feature the comedy of the late Norm Macdonald, who passed away this week, and got some clips of Macdonald I wanted to share with you as part of our Friday Funnies. It's Constitution Day, and we have a Constitution Day quiz. What the latest poll on the Constitution shows is that the good news is the percentage of people who understand the Constitution a lot better now than it was a handful of years ago. Bad news is it's still just barely over 50%, so we had some time to talk about that. And we'll talk in just a minute about kids and COVID and other issues about children's rights. That's only a moment or two away. Biffy, I should mention, first of all, the Watchdog Athlete of the Week for this past week has been named.
Yes, it has. And our, let me get it here. Our Athlete of the Week is actually from Bel Air. It was Rayshad Pettigrew, who on offense, he is wide receiver and defensive back for Bel Air. And on offense, he had one reception for 30 yards and one touchdown. And on defense, he had 5 tackles and 2 interceptions, and one which was returned for a touchdown, which turned out to be the winning touchdown in Bel Air's 14-7 win over Wheeling Central. And congratulations again to Rayshad.
He is this week's Watchdog Athlete of the Week. We select an Athlete of the Week every week, and we'll have another one for you next week after this week's games. Tonight, we have 2 games for you here on the Watchdog on AM 1370, WVOY, and FM 97.7. It is John Marshall. And who are they playing, Bippy? I can't remember.
Trimble. They are out of Gloucester, Ohio,
That's
and
right.
that's one of the teams that Wheeling Central, they play Shadyside tonight. Usually in the Ohio playoffs at some point, Trimble is one of the teams that Shadyside, we say at some point, may run into. So John Marshall's going to have their hands full.
On AM 1600, WKKX, and FM 98.1, it's once again Wheeling Central in action.
Yes, Wheeling Central at home taking on Shadyside, and it is going to be a good one tonight at Wheeling University.
It's 8:14 here on the Watchdog Morning Show. Biff, you remember a number of years ago there was a group that was created, a political PAC created here in West Virginia. Don Blankenship was behind it, the nasty coal mogul who ended up going to prison. But remember, it was called For the Sake of the Kids, right? Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Because anytime we say it's for the sake of the kids, somehow it makes things seem, we care about children. These days, children are in the spotlight a lot because of COVID. We talk about mask mandates in schools. We talk about when will the younger kids be able to be vaccinated. We talk about the increasing number of kids right now, actually, who are being diagnosed with COVID. It always seems to me as if the adults make all the decisions, and the kids just kind of look up in the sky and go, "Oh, okay, mommy, I didn't wear a mask yesterday, I'll wear one today, okay." Where are the kids' involvement in this? And I wanted to talk a bit about that, about children's rights. And to do that, I've invited Dr. Yvonne Bissing, who is a children's rights expert, really, internationally recognized in that field. She is the international, she is the U.S. policy chair for the International Children's Human Rights Treaty, among other things, and she focuses much of her writing, much of her research, much of her attention on children's rights. And Dr. Vissing, welcome to the show. I apologize for keeping you waiting, but good morning. Thank you for giving us some time today.
Well, good morning, Howard. It's nice to be with you.
So, it's always sort of a debate in my mind. Should kids have more of a voice in what happens to them, or are kids too young to really know? I think about that a lot these days because they're really a focus of much of our discussion having to do with COVID. It's your area of expertise. How much attention should we pay to what kids actually want?
Oh, I think that children have a lot of opinions, even when they're 3 years old. So that if we talk to them about how they feel about what's going on, they will have some pretty interesting opinions that we ought to pay attention to.
But they're just kids. What do they know?
That's the adult version of it, isn't it?
Do kids really know what they want? I mean, you understand what I'm getting at here. I mean, we really do. I mean, listen, I had 3 boys of my own. I have a couple of grandkids now. Now, by the time they're 6, 7, I begin to kind of think they're smarter than I am anymore. My grandson is always telling me more than I know. But still, they're just kids. I mean, they can't make decisions on their own, right? They don't really understand mask mandates or vaccinations or stuff. They just sort of know they're being pushed around, right?
No, I would disagree with you. I think that young people are very savvy about what's going on. They're watching adults. Children are engaged in spectator sports of adult life, right? And so that they are watching what moms and dads and teachers say and do. And whether they have the kind of detail that you or I might have is one thing, but they do have knowledge of what's going on. And I think that's why we have to be really careful with the way we present this mask issue to them.
How should we present the mask issue to them? How should we involve kids, whether it's in our school systems or more specifically probably in our homes? How should we involve them in what's happening to them around COVID?
That's a very good question, Howard. I do a lot of work with this issue of children's human rights, and that there are 3 components of it, and one is on provision, and one's on protection, and one is on participation, and they all go together as a package. Would you want me to talk about those for a minute?
I would love for you to.
All right, so the idea of provision is that as adults and a community that's responsible for them and to them, we want to give them health care. We want to make sure that they have a good education. We want to provide the things that they need to live a good and healthy life, right? So they can grow up. The other issue is on protection. And we want to keep kids from getting sick. No one wants to see their children dying. No one wants to see their children being infected by somebody else or infecting somebody else. And then the third is on participation, where they are able to learn how to make good decisions, to participate in the care of the community, to learn how to be kind, altruistic, and to learn how to be a citizen in a democratic society.
I wish some adults would learn how to do that.
Well, I think that's a fact.
You know, one of the things that's running through my head here, and this may not be in tune with what you think about this stuff, but I think that kids act on instinct, and I'm my own personal philosophical, theological, whatever belief is that kids begin leaning to the right, leaning to the correct way of thinking. They get corrupted as time goes by, and that's why they end up being adults, and we're all corrupted by what we've learned over the years. But I think that when kids have instincts, I think they tend to be for the best, for the better. Do you feel that?
Yes, and I think that even if you go back and look at theological leaders or philosophers, they talk about children having this sense of moral correctness, that they really try to do the right thing. If you've got children and grandchildren, then you see this. Sometimes they ask questions that embarrass us because they have been so insightful, and they'll call us out. And I think that they do try to do the right thing. And I think they're a whole lot smarter than we may give them credit for.
Yeah, my audience knows that the joy of my life is my 6-year-old grandson. He just lives down the street from us. We have him here, my wife and I, much of the time while his parents are working. And early when we would deal with him, he would believe, I think, pretty much anything we said, or at least he didn't say anything. He's come to the point now, and so we would say, we don't want him to watch certain things on YouTube. We would say, well, YouTube's broken. That's good, right? It's broken. That's a lie. But we'd say YouTube's broken. These days he goes, Granddad, I don't think it is broken. I don't think you want me to watch it. And it's like, oh my God, he's seeing through me. He's seeing through my I don't say lies. I'm trying to avoid saying lies. He's seeing through my obfuscation because they instinctively know. I think they instinctively know. And as you point out, they have no compunction about saying what they believe, even if it seems pretty rude to us.
I have children too, and someone taught me that when you have little children, for a moment in time, it's like we get to play God a little bit. And in that, they mean we know how to answer things. We know why the stars shine at night. We can tell them why kittens purr. We know all kinds of things, and that they will believe us. And as you point out, over time, they see through it. I think this is why we always have to role model good and responsible behaviors, and we have to be transparent. We can explain things to children in a way that they can understand. But I think we have to role model the right thing, because what's that old saying? Show, don't tell?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, I have come to discover that they will see the distinction. They will know that you have not done what you said you were going to do. So it's difficult. Let me ask you some practical things that should be done, particularly in terms of COVID, all of the issues that surround COVID and children. I get your 3-point provision, protection, participation. That makes perfect sense to me. But specifically, what does that suggest that we do with kids in the midst of COVID? How do we involve them? To what extent and at what point?
I think that we can't go back in the past and change things, right? But if we could, I think we, as a society, should have paid more attention to children from the get-go. There was a lot of emphasis on older people, especially those in nursing homes. And I'm a sociologist, and it was only a matter of time before you saw that children would be infected, and that we're living through what clearly you could have looked in a crystal ball and predicted. All right, and so we can't prevent some of that, but we can protect them. We can protect them from getting sick. And this does mean wearing masks. It does mean vaccinating ourselves. It does mean keeping some distance. Now, I work in a school, and I was on the COVID opening committee. And there are a lot of things that schools need to do to keep children safe. And they cost money. They take time to develop. Teachers didn't know how to do online education well. Families didn't necessarily have access to computers or reliable Wi-Fi, so that there were all kinds of things as a community that we could have been thinking about. One of the big issues in the children's rights framework is that we always want to be thinking about what is in the best interest of the child when we make decisions. So as a community, are we thinking about what the children need? And the children have some opinions about that we ought to be listening to.
Children's rights is actually a bigger topic than we might want to think. I mean, this is an issue worldwide. We talk a lot about women's rights, for example, but children's rights is really an international issue as well.
That's correct. And all of the member countries of the developed community, and there's 193 members of the UN, and there's only one country that hasn't supported the Children's Human Rights Framework, and that's the United States.
Don't tell me this. Don't tell me this. Seriously?
I'm sorry. Yeah, it is true. I think that's part of the issue, that people misunderstand what we're talking about when we are talking about human rights. Because with rights come responsibilities. All right, and in order to be a rights society, we also have to be what they call duty bearers. We have to be responsible as adults to the children, and we want children to be responsible to us and to one another. It really changes the conversation. And it's one that makes, I think, things friendlier and more supportive, not one that's conflictual.
When I've been thinking of children, as you and I have been talking here in this conversation, I tend to think of very young kids. I want to broaden this out a little bit more and maybe go off on a slightly different tact, but I'm curious your take on it. I am old enough to have one of the very first shows that I ever did on radio as a talk show host was arguing for the 18-year-old vote. I'm old enough to have been around when you couldn't vote at 18, back in the 60s. So we lowered the voting age for pretty legitimate reasons. Should we lower the voting age even more? You know, there are some cities that, not federal or even states, but there are some cities now that are allowing 16-year-olds to vote in municipal elections and so on. Should we start thinking more about literally involving younger people in the voting process, in the democratic process?
I think that's a very thoughtful question, and one that many communities are moving toward. So when you talk about children, the definition of a child internationally is anyone under age 18. And so here we do think of children as being like 7-year-olds, but in Europe, say, you could be 17, and people will be proud that they're considered a child. All right, so it's a different way of viewing things. And yes, I think that having input is important. People are making decisions. You can drive a car when you're 16. You are able to do a lot of adult kind of things. So moving the age down for voting has a lot of conversation value. I was talking to a youth the other day, and they were saying that their grandma had dementia, and that she could vote, but they were 16 and they couldn't vote, and they were in school and they were learning about all kinds of things. And they said, why is that the case? And so it's an interesting conversation.
That is a really interesting concept. That's a great point. It's kind of like you mentioned driving a car. It's kind of like driving, actually. Once you pass the test, unless you go to a new state or something, you pass the test at 18 or 16, you can drive to your 106, generally without having to prove you're able to do it again. Same thing's true once you pass an age. Yep, now you can vote. The fact that you're losing your mental faculties, the fact that you really don't know what's going on, doesn't count. Doesn't make a difference. That was a very smart person you were talking to.
Well, I think that young people have a lot of wisdom if we pay attention to them. We may not always agree with them and they're with us, or us with one another, but having an opportunity to have dialogue, to discuss, to learn about what one another's thinking and why we think it is a really useful set of skills to teach young people.
You know, I'm sitting here thinking as we discuss this, on the issue of masks and vaccines too, we hear a lot of people standing up and pounding their fists and saying, it's my right, my decision, I'll be the one to decide for my kids. People standing up for, quote, their own individual freedoms. When they say that, they kind of are taking their kids' choices into themselves. I'm not expressing myself well, but you know, this argument that I'm standing up for my right often means you're standing for your right, but what about the kids' right? I mean, we are a society after all. I hate to go to the it takes a village or any of that kind of stuff, but it's true. We are a society that ought to be concerned about certainly the least among us, if nothing else, and yet too many people are pounding their fists and stomping their feet and saying, it's my right, it's me, 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 me. I don't know if you want to respond to that or not.
No, I think that is absolutely true. From a society point of view, we were founded as a nation to protect the collective, right? To protect the community. Soldiers go out and fight and die for the community, for the sake of everyone, right? Like my Uncle Bill, he was killed in the war by doing an act of bravery where he ended up saving a lot of other people. So I think that we start to look at all kinds of mandates. We can't leave our garbage on the street, right? It's a health hazard. That if you have a loud party, it's a public nuisance. If companies want to go dump toxic waste wherever they want, you can't. Right. There are all kinds of things that we do that are in the public interest. All right. And so the public interests are perhaps greater than what I as an individual need or want. And I think that public freedoms are maybe the basis of democracy.
Well, we are a society, and so public freedom should indeed be the basis of democracy. And I'm afraid that sometimes I think it's more the media pays too much attention to those who are on the other side of that argument, but it seems like more and more people are worried about me, and not about us. And that, I think, is what's playing out in this whole COVID debate over vaccines and masks and so on. You have a new book coming out. I think I'm right about that, and if I'm wrong, I apologize. Were you going to deal with some of this stuff?
I am. Yes, I have a book that looks at children's human rights in the United States. And it is a wonderful book. I'm having so much fun writing it, and it will be coming out hopefully later this fall or at the beginning of the year. And this is where I'm looking at trying to explain what it is and how we can start to work together for really the benefit of the children. Because we all love children, right? It's just that sometimes we don't do the right things. I mean, you're a parent. Can you think of times that maybe you screwed up and you could have done better?
No. I was perfect parent. You have to understand, I was the perfect parent.
All right. So I think that learning about how we could do things that might be better for our children, because, you know, like old Whitney Houston, we can hear they are our future, but we have to be pretty savvy about how we go about this.
I think I'm a better grandparent now than I was a parent. I'm serious about that. But then again, I think of the old Bill Cosby line. I know we're not supposed to quote Bill Cosby anymore, but I think of the old Bill Cosby line talking about his parents to his kids, and he says, "These are no longer my parents; they're old people trying to get into heaven." And I sometimes think about that as a grandparent. It's like I'm a lot I'm a lot different with my grandkids than I was with my own kids. And I pay more attention to them and to their concerns than I think I did to my own kids. Part of that, I guess, is we were just, as growing up adults with kids coming into the household and so on, you're so busy, you try to juggle an awful lot of things. But anyway, I'm going down a weird road here. Hey, I appreciate your time today. One last question. You spend a lot of time thinking about, writing about, studying, talking to children. We're in a society where an awful lot of folks seem to be doing things to kids but not listening to them. Are you optimistic or pessimistic about the future because of the attention you pay to kids?
Oh, I'm absolutely optimistic because demographically, we know that worldwide the majority of population is young, and that the young people are in the U.S. Very different. They are having diverse backgrounds, mixed race, different religions in their families, and we are starting to see that the children are opening the doors. They have access to media, and in a second, they could be understanding what's going on somewhere far from us. So I think that they are starting to demand that that adults pay attention to them. And so this is why, as adults, I think that we need to pay attention, to listen to them, to role model the right thing. And as a community, we need to be role modeling what is in their best interest. We need to show children that they're important, that they are protected, and we're doing all we can to keep them safe.
Dr. Vissing, I appreciate your time this morning very much. Good conversation. Maybe we'll come back and revisit this at some other point or talk a bit more about children's rights and some different perspectives. But I appreciate the work that you do, and I appreciate your joining us this morning. Thank you very, very much.
Well, thank you, and all your folks down in West Virginia.
We will we'll have a great day, and hope you do as well. Appreciate it.
Bye now.
All right. Dr. Yvonne Vissing is a children's rights advocate. As I mentioned, she's the U.S. policy chair for the International Commission on Children's Rights, among other things. She's written some books. She spends a huge amount of time studying and researching and listening to kids. And I got thinking about how we do things to kids. We put mask mandates on kids. We say they can or can't get vaccinated. Or we as parents say, well, my right is not to be vaccinated, without thinking about what impact that might have on our kids. We don't pay enough attention to the kids, I guess. I could wax theological on this, but I don't think I will. I'll just leave it at that. All right, let's take care of some business here. The Big Seven's got Ohio Valley headlines for us, and we'll check. Tony Caridi's got the Morning Mountaineer report. And then on the Friday Funnies today, I'm going to just focus on one comic, and it is the late Norm Macdonald, who passed away this past week. And I had forgotten how funny that man could be until I started watching and listening to some of his old clips after he passed away. We shall do that together on the Friday Funnies coming up here on the Watchdog Morning Show.
The WTRF Channel 7 News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Now it's time.
I'm back in a minute, Biff, getting some more coffee.
so shop anyway. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Free pickup on orders of $35 or more. Restrictions may apply. 42 million Americans struggle with hunger, yet 35% of the food in this country is wasted. Those aren't just numbers, they're our neighbors, your daughter's friend from school, the family of 4 next door. The Kroger Company's Zero Hunger, Zero Waste Foundation is committed to making fresh food accessible to all by ensuring it never goes to waste. Together, we can help end hunger. Learn more at zerohungerzerowastefoundation.org.
Well, the scene is set here in Morgantown. A big game tomorrow afternoon. West Virginia and Virginia Tech, two longtime rivals, will clash for WVU, an opportunity to get a victory over a ranked Virginia Tech team and set the table up for the start of conference play next week. For West Virginia, the big focus this week is Braxton Burmeister. If you haven't heard about him yet, he's the quarterback of Virginia Tech, and he can hurt you with his arm or his legs. WVU's defensive coordinator, Jordan Leslie, was asked what challenges a mobile quarterback poses.
Well, they just have to expect it. You have to play your underneath coverage a little different, and you have to expect that underneath, whether it's linebackers or you're having safeties down, as far as having their eyes where they need to when he does. And then number two, your secondary, the guys that are back have to expect it, whether it's zone or man coverage. They have to know how to play that, how to plaster and play tighter once the initial route combination breaks down, and that's what happens, how to play that. And then obviously your front guys have got to know where the escape routes are. It doesn't necessarily change your scheme, it just changes how you teach that scheme that week, based on what the quarterback likes to do.
One player to watch tomorrow on WVU's defense, Jackie Matthews, recruited as a cornerback, but coming on as some help in the defensive backfield as a safety.
He's become what we thought he would be. He's a really good football player. He's a really football savvy guy. What I mean by that, he finds the ball in space, and anytime you see that, that's what that tells you, that he's a football guy.
That is WVU defensive coordinator Jordan Leslie. Kickoff tomorrow set for high noon. Pregame coverage here on the Mountaineer Sports Network will begin at 8:30. And that is today's Mountaineer Report, brought to us by Kroger, the official grocer of WVU Athletics. I'm Tony Caridi on the Mountaineer Sports Network from Learfield.
Hi, this is Hoppy Kirchhoff. Join me weekdays at 10:06, right after the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe for Statewide Talkline. I'll have guests, conversations, texts, phone calls, and all the big stories affecting West Virginia. So tune in weekdays right here on FM 98.1 and FM 97.7, The Watchdog.
A serious injury from an accident can be just the start of your worries. What if you cannot return to work? How do you take care of your family if you're disabled? At Gelner Law Offices, we represent seriously injured people and understand their problem. We know how to get you fair compensation. We will work hard to make sure you get the money you deserve for your losses. Don't go it alone. If you're hurt in an accident, call us at 304-242-2900 or visit us at gelnerlaw.com.
We'd like to help.
Save big on power tools with 11% off everything at Menards. Senco has tools that make work easier and faster with quality you can trust. The Duraspin Auto Feed Screw Gun drives screws at blazing fast speed, ideal for drywall installation. All Senco products are 11% off. Get 11% off everything now at Menards. Good through September 18th. Savings are mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Are you traveling? Working a little bit too much? Is your fur baby starting to get a little shaggy? Let Dirty Paws be your one-stop shop for all of your pet care needs. Stop in and see us at 202 18th Street or give us a call at 304-639-7754 to schedule your appointments for dog grooming, doggy daycare, and dog boarding today.
As the world gets back on track, now's the time to look forward and make bold, life-changing decisions. If you're ready to complete your college degree or pursue your master's like an MBA, Ohio Dominican University offers a range of innovative programs that match your goals. And with both fully online and on-campus evening formats available, pursuing your degree at ODU also fits your life. Classes are forming now. Get started at ohiodominican.edu. That's ohiodominican.edu.
Some foot issues just can't be fixed by those expensive shoe stores or shoe inserts. A foot exam from a doctor of podiatric medicine, who is the medical expert in foot and ankle care, may give solutions after doing a complete foot examination. If you suffer from foot, heel, or ankle pain, let us help you find a member of the Ohio Foot and Ankle Medical Association so you know you are being treated by the very best. Visit us at associationsadvanceohio.com for a referral today.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
I'm not buying till I checked on Ford.
Most of us are faced with uncertainty every day. Your job, your finances, sporting events, schooling for your children, and so much more. With so much uncertainty surrounding you, there is one auto dealership that you can be certain about, and that's Doan Ford. You can be certain that you always get a great deal and the best service afterwards. Being in business for over 50 years has given Doan Ford the reputation of being a strong, reliable dealership. Be certain. Choose Doan Ford. Online at DoanFord.com.
I'm not buying till I check Doan Ford.
You want sports talk? We got the goods all night long. Tune into Sports Map Radio, evenings and overnights on FM 98.1, AM 1600. We are the Watchdog.
He rambles, he rants, and sometimes he sings. The Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe continues.
It's 64 degrees, clear skies at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. 66 degrees, clear skies, Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. 64 degrees and sunny with a little bit of light fog or haze floating around, but mainly sunny here at the home studios in the Elm Grove section of Wheeling. 64 and sunny at the Robinson Auto Group Studios downtown Wheeling in the heart of the Ohio Valley. Going to be a mixture of sun and clouds today, but more sun than clouds during the day today. Not looking for any rain. It's going to be hot and humid, though. 82 for the high. It should be muggy once again. Coming up today, coming up next hour, McCabe and I will kick around all of the Ohio Valley news of the week. Lots of stuff to talk about. Nothing gigantic, but a lot of things of value. Talking about downtown Wheeling parking garages. Going to talk about the mask mandate in the Ohio County schools. That Bel Air Central little video that caused a bit of a dust-up. All of this and more with newspaper editor John McCabe and I next hour. Then at 10 o'clock, statewide talk line. Hoppy Kirchhoff will have among his guests today our congressman from the Wheeling area, Dave McKinley, talking about President Biden's tax plan. Also today on statewide talk line, the president and CEO of WVU Medicine, Al Wright, will be in talking about the latest COVID concerns that the hospital systems are having. Mike Pushkin from the House of Delegates will be in to talk about the Freedom to Vote Act that is pending. And our old friend Biffy Fred Persinger will take a look at high school football for the week. That's all coming up today on Statewide Talkline. Oh, wait, Biff, it's a Friday. I forgot one thing.
Oh, yes. Steam release.
Steam release, where you can call and say whatever you want to say, and Hoppy cannot respond. And you can also say about anything else you want to talk about, but you can talk about Hoppy too, or me, or Biff. Somebody usually does. So check it out today. Statewide talk line from 10 until noon. Of course, at noon, the Bill DeFabio Variety Show, and among other things, Bill will have a number of guests on today talking about a couple of coaches, a couple of analysts. Do you have any idea who his guests are going to be, Biffy? I always forget to ask you that.
No, I think Bill actually had a couple coaches on yesterday. So yeah, so I think he's going to have a couple more on today. Maybe someone from Ohio State. I think he has Kyle Wiggs on. He usually talks about the Mountaineers and I think a university in Morgantown high school, the high schools down there. So them, and I think he told me he's going to save Ray until Ray Fittipaldo because he talks about the Steelers. I think he's going to have him on Monday after the game.
After the game.
Yeah, because I think Bill found out it's easier just to have him on Monday than to try and get him on Friday. So, yeah, I don't know exactly how many.
It'll be a busy sports day nonetheless for him.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's plenty. I mean, you got the Browns playing too on Sunday. So yeah, trust me, there won't be a shortage of guests for Bill today. If I had to guess, I'm going to say about maybe 6 or 7 different guests on today.
And while Bill is on AM 1600 WKKX, we cannot forget across the way in the little room, AM 1370 WVOY and FM 97.7, it is...
Yes, where temperatures will reach about 200 degrees in that room. Donnie G.
Dancing with Dr. G. This week on the Donnie Gilbert Radio Show, Moundsville's city manager Rick Healy is in to talk about some of the news coming out of the Mound Town. Mandy O'Neill from Marshall County's Animal Shelter has a new batch of dogs up for adoption. Richie McClellan in talking about a steak fry coming up next month, 2 months actually. Pete Fisher, Larry Moore have their picks for the week. It's all on the Dancing with Dr. G show, the Donnie Gilbert Radio Show, from noon until 2 on 97.7 FM, 1370 AM, WVOY. So you will want to check that out. 7 before, and then of course after Bill is done and Donnie is done, we go to the Quaker Steak and Lube Friday afternoon walkthrough at 3, kind of previewing the games of the week. All right, it's a Friday. I always like to do the Friday funny, so I always like to pick some interesting little tidbits of humor and comedy. This week I wanted to take a little time to talk about or to hear from Norm Macdonald. Norm Macdonald kind of came to fame on Saturday Night Live, but he was a tremendous stand-up comic, and some of his best stuff came from being guests on talk shows, like Conan O'Brien and others in particular. So I wanted to feature Norm Macdonald today in our Friday Funnies. For example, Norm Macdonald talks about eating in a restaurant.
I ate a pork chop. I don't want to brag or anything like that, but it's in my belly right now as we speak. And I realize that you eat at a restaurant different than you eat at home, Like at home, you would never cook up a pork chop on your skillet, and make it nice and hot on one side, then turn it over, make it hot on the other side, and then cut into it, see how it's going in the middle there. And then you go, man, I'm gonna love eating this delicious pork chop. As soon as it's hot enough to eat, I'll eat it. But while I'm waiting, I'm gonna eat a big loaf of bread. Who would do that? Have like 35 pats of butter and I'll eat that loaf of bread. That will get my appetite sharpened up for the pork.
And that's true. You eat differently at restaurants than you do eat at home. Let's see, what else do we have here? Biff, do we have the Saturday Night Live composite? Some of the bits that he did as Weekend Update, that's what he was most well known for on Saturday Night Live. Norm Macdonald was the anchor on Weekend Update for a long time. Do we have that clip there?
I think this is it. Let me see.
Hi, I'm Norm Macdonald, and this is the news. Well, this coming Monday is Oscar night, and 3 films, The English Patient, Secrets and Lies, and Shine, are locked in a tight race in the category Best Picture There's Not a Chance in Hell I Will Ever See. In his book, O.J. Simpson says that he would have taken a bullet or stood in front of a train for Nicole. Man, I'm going to tell you, that is some bad luck when the one guy who would have died for you kills you. That's probably... Oprah Winfrey's longtime boyfriend, Stedman Graham, has written a new book called You Can Make It Happen, a 9-step plan for success. Step number 1, become Oprah Winfrey's boyfriend. Last week in Cleveland, the rock group Crosby, Stills, and Nash was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. In addition, a special Lifetime Achievement Award was presented to David Crosby's liver. Okay, folks, that's the news. Have a good thing.
Weekend Update was kind of his thing on Saturday Night Live. The OJ joke, you just heard one of them there. He beat on OJ over and over and over again during the days of the OJ trial. Every joke ended up with, and then OJ killed his wife. I mean, he was a firm believer OJ did it, and it was always pretty funny stuff. So that's what Weekend Update was about. I think I might have time to get one more Norm Macdonald clip in here talking about taking pictures. I think we can try to get this one in before the break, Biffy.
But I can't believe it's been a quarter century since I made my television debut. It was all different back then. You know, it was back then, I remember if you wanted to take a picture, you would use a camera, not a telephone. As a matter of fact, if you used a telephone, people would look at you odd. Just stay still like that. What about in the old days when they took pictures of you way back, you know, where they pulled that thing and exploded and stuff? I got a picture of my great-grandfather. The thing took 6 hours to take your picture, and it was a picture of my great-grandfather, one. Every guy had one picture back then. I gotta get back, feed them hogs. Who's gonna feed the hogs? Somebody gotta feed them hogs. Now, in the future, of course, it'll be different. 50 years from now, people will be going like, hey, you want to see 100,000 pictures of my great-grandfather?
Isn't that true? Isn't that true? I have, I believe the number is up to 3,000 pictures of Teddy on my phone. It's just crazy. Norm Macdonald, I think he was an underappreciated comic. He was very funny. I mean, just tremendously funny. Passed away this week. He died of cancer, and what's interesting is he really never made a big deal about that. He's been suffering from cancer for a number of years. I shouldn't say suffering. I assume he was suffering. He had cancer for a number of years and died of it this week. But it's not something he made a big public deal about. He just went about his life and his comedy bits until one day he was gone. All right, over to ABC. They cover the world for us, and then McCabe and I are going to talk about a bunch of local news in the Friday Roundtable. It's all coming up here on the final edition of the show for the week. We are the Watchdog Morning Show. It's 9 o'clock.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Coronavirus vaccine.